Iran's battered military, the IRGC specifically, has been reduced to a gang of pirates with a flag. They cloak their aggression in slogans, but the world now sees them for what they are: criminals on the high seas.
At 03:20 local time in the strategic and highly contested waters of the Strait of Hormuz, the United States Navy and Marine Corps launched one of the most dangerous and ambitious operations of the entire conflict. In a bold, high-risk amphibious assault supported by overwhelming naval and air power, US forces seized and occupied a critical section of the Iranian coastline directly overlooking the Strait of Hormuz. Within hours, the world's most vital maritime chokepoint, through which nearly 20% of global oil supply passes daily, came under full American military control. Operation Iron Anchor had just begun. Aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group and the amphibious assault ships of the Marine Expeditionary Unit, the joint force prepared with grim determination and high tension. Thousands of battle-hardened US Marines from the 13th Marine Expeditionary Unit, reinforced by Navy SEAL teams and special boat units, geared up in full combat load. Marines carefully checked their M4A1 rifles, M249 SAW machine guns, Javelin anti-tank missiles, 60mm mortars, and heavy machine guns. Navy SEALs inspected their suppressed weapons, breaching charges, combat diving gear, and advanced night vision equipment. Rigid-hulled inflatable boats, RHIBs, landing craft air cushion, LCACs, and amphibious assault vehicles were loaded and made ready. AH-64 Apache gunships and MH-60 Seahawk helicopters spun up on the decks, while F-35C Lightning II fighters stood armed and ready on the carrier's flight deck. The mission was extremely dangerous, landing on a hostile defended Iranian coastline under the guns of remaining IRGC coastal defenses, anti-ship missiles, and artillery. But the strategic prize was worth the risk: physical control over the narrowest and most critical part of the Strait of Hormuz. At 003:55, the operation launched under the cover of darkness. The powerful naval task force moved silently into position. Guided missile destroyers, including the USS Gravely, took up firing positions, while F-35C fighters from the USS Abraham Lincoln conducted pre-assault suppression strikes. Precision-guided munitions slammed into known IRGC coastal radar sites, anti-ship missile batteries, fortified bunkers, and observation posts along the rocky shoreline. Bright explosions lit up the Iranian coast as enemy defenses were systematically suppressed from the air and sea. At 04:20, the amphibious assault wave began in earnest. LCACs and landing craft raced toward the Iranian beach at high speed, carrying hundreds of Marines, light armored vehicles, and heavy equipment. The moment the first landing craft hit the shore, thousands of US Marines stormed the coastline under intense covering fire from naval guns, Apache helicopters, and F-35s overhead. Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps defenders immediately opened fire from prepared positions in the hills and concrete bunkers, using machine guns, RPGs, and anti-tank missiles. The night erupted with the thunderous sound of heavy gunfire and explosions. The Marines pushed forward with aggressive determination and professional skill. Javelin teams destroyed Iranian armored vehicles and mobile missile launchers before they could fully engage. Machine gun squads and mortar teams laid down devastating suppressive fire, while assault squads cleared trench lines and fortified positions using grenades and close-quarters combat drills. Navy SEALs conducted flanking maneuvers from the sea, striking IRGC strongpoints from behind and sowing chaos in the enemy lines. The fighting was fierce and often close quarters in several sectors, as Marines fought their way up the rocky slopes under sustained enemy fire. Apache gunships hovered dangerously close to the battlefield, unleashing 30mm chain guns and Hellfire missiles on any Iranian reinforcements attempting to reach the fight. F-35C fighters provided continuous top cover, ready to deliver precision strikes on any larger threats or concentrations of enemy forces. By 05:10, after nearly an hour of intense and heavy combat, the US Marines had successfully secured a solid beachhead and pushed nearly 4 kilometers inland, capturing the high ground that overlooked the narrowest and most strategically important section of the Strait of Hormuz. At 0540, Navy SEAL teams, supported by Marine reconnaissance units, launched a final coordinated assault on the main IRGC surveillance and coastal command post. After a sharp, intense close-quarters battle, the facility was captured. American forces quickly raised the stars and stripes over the captured position as combat engineers immediately began establishing defensive perimeters, setting up radar systems, and preparing anti-air and anti-ship defenses. By 0630, US forces had fully consolidated control over a strategically vital 15-kilometer stretch of the Iranian coastline directly on the Strait of Hormuz. Heavy artillery batteries, air defense systems, and additional marine reinforcements were being rapidly brought ashore. The narrowest and most dangerous part of the strait was now firmly under American military occupation and control. Throughout the morning, more Marines, tanks, artillery, and logistical support continued to pour onto the captured coastline. By midday, the occupied zone had been transformed into a heavily defended and fully operational American stronghold, complete with layered defenses, forward operating bases, and direct naval gunfire support from the carrier strike group positioned just offshore. The occupation of this key section of the Strait of Hormuz was a historic and decisive strategic achievement. For the first time in modern history, the United States physically controlled a significant portion of Iranian territory along the world's most important oil choke point. Iran's long-standing ability to threaten, harass, or attempt to close the strait had been physically removed. The US Navy and Marines had successfully carried out one of the most dangerous operations of the entire conflict, a direct amphibious assault against a defended hostile coastline, and executed it with remarkable speed, professionalism, and courage under fire. As the American flag flew proudly over the newly occupied Iranian coastline, the message to Tehran and to the entire world was loud, clear, and unmistakable. The Strait of Hormuz is now under United States control. Any future attempt to challenge American presence or threaten global shipping in these waters will be met with overwhelming and immediate force. Operation Iron Anchor was a complete and resounding success. The most dangerous maritime choke point in the world had been secured by the bravery and skill of the United States Navy and Marine Corps, marking a decisive turning point in the conflict and ensuring freedom of navigation under strong American protection for the foreseeable future.